Hello there, welcome back to the channel. It's Richie here from Dowie After Dark, and today I am joined by Scott, the imperishable Reid.
I don't know if I can possibly live up to that introduction, to be honest.
So, for everybody out there who doesn't know Scott, he is from Forgotten North. Go check out his YouTube channel, and he also runs the Forgotten North events. And he is also the Tomb King player for Team England.
My name's Scott, and I'm the Tomb King player for Team England. And I just want to say we've recently got back from taking part in Home Nations, where England thankfully won, and it was an amazing event. Thank you very much.
Love Tomb Kings. Love everything about Tomb Kings. Super enjoyed the last chat we had about them. So, thanks for having us back on.
Yeah, no problem at all. If you want to see a chat with Scott pre 1.5, that video is down below. I think it is how to win with Tomb Kings. So this isn't going to be titled that unless I'm really lazy and forgot about it. So we today are going to be talking about the differences between pre 1.5 and post 1.5, and also post the match play guide as well. What's your initial thoughts of the changes, mate?
I think, to be fair, I actually think predominantly the games move forward in a better way with 1.5. As a Tomb King player, I think their power level is probably very comparable to where it was. I just think they play slightly differently, but I still think they probably are the third best army in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they are super strong. I mean, I would say definitely the gun line builds have had to adapt a little bit because you have to move forward. You have to kind of grab those objectives. Yeah. We're definitely seeing bigger blocks moving forward as well, which is always quite nice to see. Like, we're not seeing the massive... Yeah, it's much better. Like, we're not just seeing the really long lines of archers. And also, the Royal Host build is dead. Yes, everybody.
I know. I mean, it's very good for the game. Sad that I was playing it and it's died, obviously. But it's better for the game that the Royal Host, like that one blob of essentially all 2,000 points plus a chariot, can't be played.
Yeah, it was pretty disgusting. For those casual players out there or people that potentially didn't see it at events, do you want to quickly walk through that horror of a build that's luckily gone now?
It was quite literally. Bear with us. Let us open it up, and I've still got it sitting in New Recruit, I think, just so I can look back at it and smile.
This is what I could have had.
This is what you could have won, ladies and gentlemen. It was like 139 skeletons in one block, and then just characters. You had a couple of units of skirmishers and a chariot. Like everything in your army, barring about 100 points, was in one block of skeletons that just moved up the board, potentially TMP'd around. And just killed anything it looked at with poison effectively. It was disgusting.
Yeah, it's awful. So the changes that made it possible for that build to no longer exist is that the points of units have been dropped down to 500 points maximum. And also with the poison changes, it's not really that viable to run anymore. I mean, volley fire is still pretty good, but without poison working the way it did before, and also large target shooting as well, you can't really deal with those monsters. So luckily that horror build is gone. So going forward into 1.5, obviously there has been massive changes. Like I said before, poison, which a lot of the Tomb King build were using extensively beforehand, and also magic. So if we could get your opinions on the changes to Tomb King magic, is it as good as it is before? Is it as reliable? Because I don't think so.
No, to be fair, I agree. I think in a Grand Army Tomb King, actually, your castings fundamentally no better than any other army, and magic is just harder to get off. And I find it hard to build your army around magic. That said, I still think because of the way Mortuary Cult can... Obviously, they can't get like the +9 or whatever they used to be able to get, which is, absurd, really. But, well, I say absurd. Fun, but questionable whether it's fun for your opponent as well. The Casket still gives that reliable +1. You can still sacrifice a wound for 1 +1. Probably means you don't need swarms anymore, because they were just there for spell power battery, weren't they? So I definitely think it changes. Magic is nowhere near as good as it was across the board. I think Mortuary Cult can still reliably get magic off, but even that, like with the growth of Magic Res being used, I think it's definitely hard and does change how you play the game. But you can't rely on Magic as much as you could previously.
No, I mean, Mortuary Cult, they're reliably casting on a +4, and a lot of the spells have also been reduced in value as well. So they are potentially the same as a normal level 4 would have been pre 1.5. So it is quite semi-reliable. Obviously, like you said, nowhere near as good as the +9, but it was almost pretty miserable to play against Mortuary Cult because every single spell is going to go off unless they get a miscast, right?
Again, that's not good for the game either, is it? Like, no army should be oppressive to play against, particularly because that skews the game in an unbalanced way. We want the game to be as balanced as possible.
Yeah. Obviously, like in tournaments, there's going to be skew lists, but you don't want people to be playing those when they're playing at home or down their local clubs. And it's kind of inadvertent as well, because a lot of the Tomb King builds that were really powerful were probably the ones that looked the coolest and also probably had some of the nicest models in as well. So those were kind of like lists that people naturally gravitated to because the Shabti are really cool. And then also the monster spam lists with all the T6 and the T5. Like they probably just had some of the nicest models out of the Tomb King's range in, and then they turned out to be just horrendously strong, right?
Well, that's it. When the Arcane Journal got sort of that previewed, if we think way back when the Mortuary Cult was sort of came out without any of the factors of how it played, I was like, I am absolutely doing a Mortuary Cult list. Like that just sounds cool. It's a priest-led list, blah blah blah, and then it obviously turns out to also be just outrageously good. And you're like, oh, I started out to play just the theme that I liked the most. It then just turned out to be, frankly, a little bit. It's still a very, very good list.
Yeah, like it hasn't really changed too much. I think the only changes now is people are kind of dropping the amount of skeletons because of the nerf to poison and large target shooting, and people are just putting more Shabti in.
Yeah, well,
so
that's it. You just don't see that block of sort of 74. I mean, it was always 74 normally, to be fair. 40, I suppose, if for the fluffier players out there, we're only taking 40 poison shots, but you're not seeing that big block of poison archers anymore, which I think is good for the game. I actually don't think I think poison's been overdone, if I'm honest, because I think with the nerf to what can shoot a large target, they didn't need to hammer down on poison as well, because I think it hurts other armies more than it hurts the things like Tomb Kings who were just using a big block. I think poor Wood Elves suffer for it. I mean, not that anybody actually cares about Wood Elves.
Well, no. I controversially, I think that the change to poison definitely was overhanded, but I think the way that they should have done it is let the armies that were utilising it properly to still keep it, but then just say if you've got a unit of over 20, then you can't use poison. Just something like that.
Yeah, I think there's definitely other ways to do it for sure, because I think it does hurt the armies that were relying on small arms fire. But it's definitely impacted, I think, how you build Tomb King lists, because previously you would just essentially take one block and that would be the fulcrum of your army a little bit, or you'd be TMPing it around, blasting off a large target, TMPing somewhere else, blasting off another large target, or not even just large targets. They could always take out just mass troops as well, couldn't they? Because it's just so reliable. Always hitting on 5s, re-rolling your 1s with you probably got Cursed Blades off. It was just such a reliable way of killing things. And Poison Nerf is probably good for the game overall. I just think it was maybe done in a bit of a heavy-handed way, just like you said.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you combine that with the Plague of Rust, when you're playing against that Mortuary Cult, for instance, that spell's 100% going off. They're going to put down a column of crystal in front of you so you can't charge him. Then they're going to take that away, shoot you. It was just a semi-miserable experience. So I'm sorry to all of the Tomb Kings players out there, but playing into Tomb Kings quite a lot, they are much more fun to play into post 1.5 and with the match play guide. I mean, you guys have got to move, right? So,
that's the biggest difference, isn't it? And I think because you've had to look at it differently, I think what Tomb Kings actually have is really good co-options that are actually quite flexible with moving, like horse archers. The horse archers are incredibly good because they've got reserve move. All right, they can't march because they don't fly, but what they're M8, so effectively they can move 16 inches every turn whilst continuing to shoot, and you can bring them back So a unit of sort of say 7 or 8 horse archers are actually incredibly good at scoring objectives, which is obviously so important in 1.5 and match play and competitive play. I think there's a real place for them in almost every list, certainly Grand Army and Mortical, which I think is definitely the two styles of Tomb Kings you see more often, and you will see more often at the top end of events. But it does make you think differently because you've got to play the game differently than you had to prior match play, which is, again, hugely positive and has moved the game forward.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's a completely different game now, like especially in the list design, because you've got to consider all of the objectives, you've got to consider domination, you've got to consider the baggage trains as well. And something that I absolutely love about 1.5 and post match play guide is that all of the stuff that was potentially rubbish before, like all of the bound spell items that are like level 2 that you'd never take before, suddenly you're looking at those and being like, oh, that's casting the same level as a level 4 now. That's quite good. And also just random stuff that was just terrible before that you wouldn't even consider, like carrion in Tomb Kings. Those, a unit of them can now go destroy a baggage train, or they can just like pop round the back and just try and kill a Cathay cannon.
Well, nothing's killing that Cathay cannon because they'll just that ogre's either beat them in combat or you stood in shot with whatever that ridiculous thing is that Cathay have.
Yeah, well, I did say try.
Yeah, you've got to try. You're right though. Things like carrion have got to. It's tough because points are tight, but I definitely think that you can look at things differently now. Carrion are good. They're not bats good from vampires. So like a lot of things in TK, it's slightly less good versions of the vampire count stuff in some regards. But I think carrion have got a place because of baggage train and things like that are just taking off little units that are trying to hold scoring. I think a lot of the options as well, that if you're playing strategic locations, for example, or even just domination, you're leaving little units around to try to score or hold an objective while the rest of your army tries to win the game. And you want little fast units to be able to sort of get where you need them, hold, or just split for domination, get their attack and baggage train. It's definitely more about the option about where you bring things on, movement. Ambush is definitely better in 1.5 than it was in the first edition. And Tomb Kings can do that with their like skeleton, the skeleton skirmishers that they can bring in to ambush, which is great as well. Like, and their core, so they can score.
Yeah, exactly, which is so important now. Like with all of the scoring, like if you haven't played too much of the match play guide yet, if you go and have a look at the scoring, the amount of points that are on the table are insane. So if you're playing Strategic Locations 4 that's got domination in it as well, and then potentially got some secret objectives, there's like over 2,000 points extra on the board for both players to try and grab. Like it's insane. So if you don't play into that, then you're definitely going to be at a disadvantage. I think the age of just one Death Star and maybe a couple of support units is definitely gone. You obviously, everybody that's watching this has probably played loads of 1.5 so far. I would I would potentially hope, if you haven't managed to grab that many games. It's been so fun to try and work out what's good now, and I bet everyone out there has been really enjoying making the new lists, working out what's good, and just like re-examining everything. Like if you had loads of random Tomb King models on your shelf that you didn't use in Old World 1, then you're kind of looking at now and you're like, yes, that actually has a place now. And that's one of my favorite things about the changes, I think.
I agree. Like, to be honest, I was just looking at my carrion thinking, I might paint you guys up, because you're just sitting there looking at us sprayed white. The whole thing has made you think different. I think that the point you made about Death Stars, because of that 500 point limit, like, there's not that many things that can do a real reliable Death Star at 500 points. And if you do, you're sacrificing potential scoring elsewhere. Because I think one thing Tomb Kings can lean into is the Tomb Guard, almost Death Star, which lets you have almost a movable block in your core with phalanx, and you can then move around that to score and pick things off, or you can do it on the cheap and just have a really big block of skeletons that don't really have any damage output, but they'll hold an objective for effectively forever. which is
exactly, and objective mean points, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you've got one object that you can sit a unit of skeletons on, that is worth, all right, a couple of 100 points, but a couple of 100 points of skeletons is a lot of skeletons that aren't going anywhere with phalanx, especially that you can res back. That will then sit on an objective all game and score you 30 points a round. It's a lot of. It's certainly going to score more than its points are worth even to kill. So
yeah.
Net bonus for sure.
Oh, I definitely agree. While we're talking about the Tomb Guard, do you think that they've kind of gone up in value in this edition?
I do. I think they're essentially a poor man's grave guard.
I think every infantry in the game is a poor man's grave guard. Don't you dare!
Right. I know. I'm sorry.
Don't you dare compare them to that?
I know. I'm sorry.
It's like, I'm weapon skill 7 now.
Yeah. Of course I am. I've got Cleave and Blow. I'm going to come back. I've got a 5-up regen.
That you do twice.
Yeah.
I lost combat by 10. 9 5-ups.
Yeah.
I'm fine now.
I'm fine. I don't care about your combat res. But I do think Tomb Guard have gotten better because of objectives, and I think there's more play in the lists now in general. So there was some guys that I came across prior to 1.5 playing sort of a 30 odd man Tomb Guard block. Sorry, I think that's better now in 1.5 than it was for sure. Like they've got decent damage output when you put a character in there. With a bit of My Will Be Done. Maybe you get a Necrotect in there for the hatred. You can pick your choice of banner of what you want with them, whether it's better weapon skill, because weapon skill 3 to 4 is quite an enormous jump for that, not getting hit as easily, or whether you're pumping in the reserve move banner or the free reform. There's a lot of options, I think, in the banners, but I think Tomb Guard have definitely got legs. They will hold objectives. They can have good damage output, and you can just bring them back so reliably.
Oh yeah, for sure. How would you arm them?
I think there's an argument for halberds.
I'm glad you said that, because I could never pronounce it. I know.
But I'm actually a bit of a stickler. I quite like them with sword and shield.
I mean, anything that you can get a parry save in this edition got stonks, right?
Yeah. Well, I like hand weapon shield because they've got the Korpesh rule, so they've always got AP 1 anyway. Their strength 4, AP 1, and they've got, I think, light armor shield and parry. Plus, then their regen just makes them a really tough nut to crack. So I personally like hand weapon shield, but then I'm naturally a bit more of a cautious player. So I like a block that will I can put somewhere and it'll just not die, which is one of the strengths of Tomb Kings. So they are very, very good. I've got more of them on my paint table currently as well. Because I didn't use them previously, and I only had a small little unit. So I was like, I'll have them for sort of fluff. Now I'm thinking, 500 points with a banner, you can approximately get 36 Tomb Guard in there. That's now how many Tomb Guard I need to really give them the run out that I think they deserve.
Yeah, and really solid now. Like, if the kind of gold standard for any infantry now is getting a parry save and also having AP1, so having access to both of them. And also there's been a couple of massive changes that have really affected, say, monsters, and particularly ridden monsters going into infantry. So if a dragon charges into you, for instance, so say if it's a Chaos Dragon, he's going to charge into you, you're going to offer out a challenge. You're not going to be able to do this if you've got other units charging in as well, but you're going to kill the unit champions. This is what's going to happen. And then the dragon's going to come in. You're going to challenge him out. And he's only probably going to do, with your save and your regen, he's probably only going to do a couple of wounds to you, or maybe even just one, depending on dice. And then you are basically going to win combat, because the initiative steps in challenges now means that it's going to be... they just can't get all their attacks. So basically, the Chaos Lord's going to fight you. You're going to die. The dragon loses the attacks, and the dragon loses the stomps as well. And then you're going to be able to regen, and yeah, it's just this big kind of mess. So Tomb Kings and Vampire counts into, like, you just can't send dragons into the infantry block at all now. It's just not at all.
It's because any infantry block is better now against dragons, but with Tomb Kings and VC, like, that champion is coming back next turn as well. Like, Dave, the immortal Tomb Guard champion's just going to come on back with his sword and shield and just keep getting punked off a monster. We say Raiden monster comes in, your static will beat that dragon in combat res. Like, it just will. You double outnumber it, so that dragon's probably fleeing. So you can't take dragons in infantry unless you can take multiple monsters in. Which I actually still think Monster Mash has got legs in Tomb Kings. It's just because you can go double, you can guarantee going double Sphinx, which obviously can't get challenged out. Like, they've got good reliable stomps. You'd need at least one Sphinx to go anywhere with your king. The other beauty that Tomb King monster has, as opposed to say the Chaos Dragon, it was never over 500 points anyway because it's comfortably nowhere near as good. It can't flee. So, as long as you can mitigate how much you lose by, it's also indomitable 2. So you're going to crumble 2 less. You get your your save now on crumble. So in some respects, the Tomb King on a dragon has arguably gotten better in 1.5. Not quite, but versus other dragons, he's relatively gotten better because he can still go into units and not be chased away. I've heard people talk about this whole flee and fall back and good order nonsense. Like, I don't understand. It's stand still like a crowd.
I know, you play an undead army, you only play half the game.
People talk about rules. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Test for that? I don't understand.
I just moved back 2, surely. What are you doing?
What do you mean there's a combat resolution chart?
Utter madness. Yeah. What do you mean ballistic skill shooting?
Yeah, I just got 5, so I don't understand. I've got cover. I don't know what you're talking about. But that has always been a positive with playing undead. You can just ignore huge chunks of the game, which is lovely when you don't know half. It just gives you less of the game that you have to bother learning.
For sure.
It's such a strength. Like, you just ignore psychology, other than when it works in your favour naturally.
Terror -1.
Yeah. Take that fear test before you charge my massive unit, which is also just such a good strength because you can plop your even just your skeletons on an objective, and anything that wants to come in, say to support a dragon, unless it's immune to psychology or causes fear, it's taking that fear test. If you've managed, it's a dice game, isn't it? So if they don't get it off, that poor dragon comes in, loses combat, potentially gets ran down. I think that's another strength of having big fear causing units in your core. Like, they have to engage with it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're running necromancy as well and you've managed to get any of those leadership debuff spells off, then you could probably try and focus down on the units that we're charging in to come help the dragon. As long as the dragon's not the general, I suppose, unless you can get one of the vortexes down. But
yeah. I know. I love necromancy with Tomb Kings. I still struggle to fit it into the list in the most competitive way. Although, arguably, Monster Mash, you could go necromancy on your wizard if you take a level 4, or even if you just take a level 3 now. To be fair, with the law family, just there's no benefit of that extra level, and if there's probably only 3 spells you want anyway. So just make sure you get the 3. Arguably, I still think with the mortuary cult, elementalism and illusion are still the better laws, particularly elementalism, because it just synergizes so well with how you do damage.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. Although I would say that illusion now has definitely got a lot harder to cast. So yeah, like it's nowhere near as reliable nowadays. Like Mirage and Column of Crystal are generally quite difficult to get off, actually, especially like playing into the armies that've got MR with magic resist. Yeah. So you're seeing a lot like Brazen Collars kicking around. You're seeing a lot of like the dwarves with the Rune Lords in the unit, so they're going to be MR2, and stuff like that's quite hard to cast on them nowadays.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm not actually a huge fan of illusion magic. It's got 2 incredibly good spells, but I don't know. Yeah, they're hard to cast. I'm not a huge fan of illusion. I'd much rather, as a player, certainly from a fun point, I'd rather use elementalism and necromancy. But yeah, it's certainly in edition 1, you had to have that guy on illusion for Mirage and Column. although Glittering Robes is just an incredible signature spell as well for -1 to hit. And I think if you're
it's
going into Tomb Guard, there's something to be said about maybe at least taking a level 1 on Illusion just for -1 to hit.
Oh, it's amazing, right? Like if you can combo that with the other -1s to hit that the Tombkins can take as well. Is it the orb? I can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah, for shooting. Yeah, I like the orb. I know there's a lot of people out there who are not a fan of the orb. It's 40 points, which is price, but there's also the Mirage banner. You can make your unit incredibly difficult to get shot, which for ballistic skill, and there's a lot of decent ballistic skill shooting out there that can put off a lot of damage. That you can almost become null and void to it. And in a world where we have Cathay, with all their nonsense, if you can make Cathay less good into you, that's got to be a win.
While you've mentioned Cathay, there's going to be a lot of Tomb King players that are going to be watching this who have either played into Cathay or they've got games lined up into Cathay. Can you let me know your experience playing into them and the best ways to try and beat them?
Oh well, experience-wise, it's been some rough learning.
Oh yeah. I think all of us has been like that. I really enjoyed my first couple of games into Cathay when they didn't have any idea what they were doing, and it was like, yeah, this isn't too bad. This is fine. And then as soon as people start getting like the scale of like loads of games, you're like, oh shit, this army's quite good.
Like this particular build with balloons are outrageous. Like there's dragon fire bombs, each hit D3+1 hits. Like the stupid bombs that the bombing runs, which like a gyro bomber but better in every conceivable fashion.
You cannot compare that to a gyro bomber like at all. Like it's like a gyro bomber on crack for 10 points more.
It's the cost of them, isn't it? It's just insane. Like, of course, this is only like 150 points. Why would it not be?
I know, absolute madness. But, yeah, obviously, everybody knows out there that the balloons are amazing, the cannons are amazing. It really depends what like your TO is going to do, whether they're going to allow. I think most of the tournaments in the UK, so I can't comment on tournaments further afield. But in the UK, pretty much all the TOs have kind of got together and decided that 2 is probably going to be the maximum balloons that are going to be taken in the events, which I feel is a good thing. And also that the cannons, the Thunderous Impact doesn't stack as well, which was pretty awful. Like I would say the first like month of playing into it, I was just on movement 0 with all my stuff. So you're just like, yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, Tom's just like, none of this moves now. Oh, good, cool. No, so I think against Cathay for Tomb Kings, which I think you can see is anyone who wants to do well in a singles gate event now has to have some kind of answer to Cathay, don't they? Otherwise, that would just bow to our balloon overlords. I think the capacity for Tomb Kings to take negatives to hit is really positive. Like negatives to hit for shooting, so I rate the Mirage banner far more highly now than I ever did previously. The orb of, and we'll get some hit. People will have a go for how I've pronounced it, but like the orb of Tra. Yeah, we'll go with that. But at least Dave will have a go at us for how I've said it.
It's right, mate. The Tomb Kings aren't real. It's fine. nobody knows.
Yeah. For me, and it is a personal opinion, like they got exponentially better because of you need a counter to ballistic skill shoot to very good ballistic skill shooting. I think Mortar Cult now drops we've talked about earlier, drops the big block of shooting. Sorry, skeleton shooting. And a 500 point limit on a unit means you can take a block of 10 Ushapti in a single unit, which is like it's a beautiful thing. Like because Ushapti are cool.
Yeah.
They can definitely be the counter to Cathay because one unit of those could feasibly take out a balloon in a turn. Not guaranteed by any stretch, but feasibly could.
I mean, they could.
They won't. You could. Like theoretically, they can. I mean, they won't, but nothing does. But I mean, if it's a non-character balloon, which it won't be, like you're shooting with 10 of them, you're hitting on 4s, you're wounding on 3s, putting obviously multi-wound 2. Like Ushapti are a good answer 2 balloons, assuming that the Cathay player hasn't gone first and deleted you off the board.
Yeah, for sure. Although I do think quite a nice little tactic into Cathay now would be going potentially maybe double necromancy, chucking Spirit Leech out there, get Spiritual Vortex off, and then double casket as well.
Yeah.
So there are definite ways to, like, new ways to think about it. Obviously, I know double casket kind of fell out of favor at the end of Old World 1, but I genuinely think double casket now is quite nice at singles.
Agreed, because also it means you can reliably leave one up for the lighter protection and just have that blanket -1 hit on an 18-inch range is just incredible. Like, that and a 6-up ward is the real powerhouse of the casket, as well as the +1 to cast for your wizards. And then have your other one, like you said, you're essentially taking it like as just for the magic missile, or in case the other one doesn't go off. But it's +2 to cast, so it's solid. It's essentially a level 4 wizard now. And I do think necromancy does potentially give you that answer to Cathay with casket. Also, I think Terra Bomb could be the answer to Cathay as well, which also then means necromancy could be your play, because if you can debuff their leadership, you've got a Sphinx or two to just give that terror test. Like, at that point, they could feel it, and then you've got the opportunity with Swift Strike. You could feasibly catch them and actually kill them. I'm not saying all those things are incredibly reliable by any stretch, but in a world where Cathay is proven to be very dominant currently, I think that dominance will drift down as people as they get comped a little bit naturally. Like, say, the double balloon, I think, is a good decision by and a nice bit of alignment by the most TOs in the UK, which is great. Hopefully that's adopted wider. But that will make you think how you do need to tailor your list differently for a singles event, because you know you're going to come up against Cathay if you intend to play at the top tables. And I think necromancy could be a solution to that. And it's nice to see double casket, because it's nice to have 2 of them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think like double casket, loads of Reshabti is probably the statistically easiest way to try and deal with Cathay with the Tomb King's range currently. I think just with disengage, like before I probably would have said like throwing the dragons and the Necro Sphinxes in, but obviously with the disengage, like, it's just, you're not going to do enough damage to it, unfortunately. So we've talked about Cathay. What about the other terrors at the moment, the vampire counts?
Yeah, the thing with vamps, I think fundamentally they do a lot of things that Tomb Kings do better. As in, Graveguard, I think, are unquestionably the best core in the game. Like that, you need an answer to that. I think Screams tend not to be that big a deal for Tomb Kings, particularly.
You just come back, right?
You just come back, and even with debuffs, it's harder to get the debuffs off, although not so much for vampires now, because Mortis engines still stack, because that's a thing. Not that I'm bitter about it, though. Caskets don't stack, but Mortis engines do. I
don't know if you've seen in France, so in their competitive circuit, apparently they're banning Mortis engines.
Yeah, I'd seen that, which I mean, that's extreme. Like,
oh, that's crazy.
Right, French people, you guys are wild. I think you can build lists with things that meet vamps on relatively even terms. I think Mortar Cults still do pretty well in the vamps, in the fact that if they are running Mortis engines, etc., or if someone's using Terrorgeists, feasibly having about 20 Ushabti answers large targets incredibly well. So that still probably becomes your best answer. I also think a King and a Dragon is pretty... Obviously, you'd avoid the... If you're going Grand Army, you'd avoid the Graveguard block. You want absolutely nothing to do with any of that nonsense, frankly. But you could relatively grind them with a... Because you're not even going to grind them with a couple of Sphinxes, because they've got great weapons, probably. They're going to kill your Sphinx. So you just either chaff it up or ignore it. But I still think it's got tools to kill other stuff. I still think the actual problem is that you don't normally have a lot of magical attacks with Tomb Kings, and Ethereal is actually the bigger problem. That's when you start loading yourself up on like burning blades for champions and like nonsense like that. But you kind of need it in Ethereal World, because Ruby Ring got a lot worse, effectively, and that is it now worth 35 points? Ooh.
Yeah, I know. So what would be your best common advice for people playing into singles? So obviously they've got to play into Cathay. They're going to have to play into Vampire Counts if they want to win these events. So what would be your best advice in the list building stage to deal with Ethereal?
I think if you go Mortuary Cult, you've got caskets to deal with Ethereal stuff. I probably would still try to squeeze in the Ruby Ring, even though I think it's overcosted now. I still think it's worth it. And if you go in Necromancy and Elementalism, which I think is probably the combo to go with now, the magic missiles, like Wind Blast is always been good. And I think Quiet Spirits is a very good magic missile. But I would definitely say it's worth having your champions that can have a magic item have a burning blade or something on a lot of them. If you go in Grand Army as well, I mean, combat res will kill them if they do come into combat, but they're probably just not going to come into combat unless you've got a super empowered unit of Hex Race or something like that you're just murdering things. But combat res will always do a decent job. You've just got to think you've got to get where you can get magic attacks in, get them. Like in a singles event, my king doesn't have a great weapon on a dragon because he needs a magic weapon just to kill Ethereal. So Sword of Might, I think for 20 points is Brill, or Bite and Blade, whichever one sort of people prefer. I think they're both totally viable. The AP2 is nice, but it's a balance because you're strength 5. But if he's there to kill Ethereal, like strength 5's going to be enough. But most Ethereal doesn't have armor anyway, so you're almost better off wounding on 2s if they've got T4. I think it's where you put your for Cathay and Vamps. There's a big the top 2 apex predators. I think Mortuary Cult answers them best, but then I think Mortuary Cult's always been probably the quote unquote best build for Tomb Kings. But I do still think a Grand Army with a king on a dragon and say 2 Sphinxes will work, because then you probably don't take the priest on the dragon anymore, and you have you almost like a combined arms where they're your rush aspects, and then you play your traditional Tomb King list. Maybe you in a Tomb God block. Definitely has answers as well. It depends which flavour of Tomb King you prefer when list building. I think they're the 2 big options. Whether you go Grand Army and you want to do monsters, or whether you do Mortuary Cult, in which case you probably, if you haven't already, you need to get more Ushabti.
Always just more Ushabti. So
more Ushabti.
For people out there that don't want to play either of them and they want to play the Royal Host, what would be your kind of suggestions with the Royal Host?
They can do the Tomb God block as well. I still think there's legs in the skeleton cohorts, but you can't take the 140 man block anymore. But you can still take a very reasonable sized block of that, which will do incredibly well at getting objectives, and they can always volley fire. They've definitely got legs. I think Royal Host is going to be less successful in teams than, less successful in singles than I think it has a role in Team Warhammer. But it can also do double king on a dragon, feasibly. If you could actually take, if you love monsters and that's like your shtick, you can't take Sphinxes, which is a shame. But you can actually take double dragon and a level 1. But you don't even need a level 1. But you take a level 1, give that unit like glittering robes, or you take it for Jaffs. Reroll those ones to hit. Have a block of skeleton cohort or a block of Tomb God or both, and then have a couple of kings flying around just being very, very good. One of them can have the reroll to wound, like the Armor of Ages. The other one you can just stack up on like Warden Splint and a shield, so it goes on a 4-up, 5-up, 5-up. I think whichever flavour of Tomb King you want to play is definitely got a competitive option. I think Royal Host is naturally the least competitive in a singles event because I think its strengths can be countered more, and it can't take ambushes in core. Their ambushes have to be in special, so they can still come on and get baggage trains and domination, but they can't sneak on and start grabbing objectives. So it really comes on your play style. If you are a more cautious player, which you could well be if you play Tomb Kings, Mortricle or Royal Host may well be the way you play. If you, the other side, if you love big monsters, which you could also, because Tomb Kings do that very well, like I definitely think that has legs still in 1.5. You just have to counterbalance it with some good, solid core. Whereas that can score, which is probably either a Tomb Guard block or a skeleton sword and board block. Then with a couple of units of Horse Archers, I think are invaluable in both Mortricle and Grand Army for scoring. Their flexibility, I just find them incredibly useful. You can also put a champion in there, so if you do want to maximise your King's potential, charge in with them as well. Like they'll die horribly to everything. So I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're really desperate to not get challenged out with your King, you can throw them in. One thing that is always I find upsetting is that Royal Host was designed to be a chariot army. Don't do that. Like unless you're playing for fun, or you're playing at a local club, or you haven't playing it at home or whatever else. Like it's very cool and it's very thematic. It's rubbish. Like chariots are just not good.
I love the Cetra Tokyo Drift army.
They look amazing. You want them to be good, don't you? Like you just want chariots to work, but they just don't.
No. So I played. I was at the Forgotten North actually at your event. I played against. It was basically a full chariot beastman army, which was cool, like wasn't it? Yeah. Like, it was so cool. It was crap, but it was. It looked awesome.
It is. It's the balance, isn't it? It looks cool, and if it was against a really static line, that like, you can just throw all your chariots into something like maximum carnage. But against anything that's got remote levels of maneuverability, it just doesn't work. Or things I can just take them off. Like gyrocopter shooting, just like, oh, this is delightful. Gone. I'll fly over you. Gone.
Yeah. Also, anything with flaming damage as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, Dryas Dust's just sad on chariots, to be honest. Like, I did a wound. Oh no, I've done 2. Oh no. Like, you get 2 wounds, so you're pretty much guaranteed that chariot's just completely toast. Although I do like if you're going to go Royal Host and you want to try running double King on Dragon, I'd probably make at least one chariot, if not a couple of chariots, champions with Burning Blades, so you've got more ethereal answers, and they're going to die. So, but they're quite good to go in with your King to take challenges. D3 impact hits with absolutely no AP, like they're not going to do anything. But they will take the challenge off your King, so that your King actually whale into troops. So they've got a space, like, and obviously they had a 2-point reduction at 1.5, which is big. You know,
wild.
41 points now was a bargain.
Yeah, that's crazy, that is, mate. So with the changes from 1.5, obviously the match play guide coming in with missions, what would be the tactics that you would try and tell people to do? Would all of your shoot even be going into the core scoring units to try and whittle them down, so then you can put your just undestroyable blocks onto them and keep claiming objectives? Or would you try and push into the enemy deployment? What would be your best kind of advice?
I think if you're playing either or with similar, but if you're playing say Mortricle, I would be taken out as a general. Stop your opponent scoring. If you're playing objectives 4, certainly, I mean, dominance, you need to get things down to just kill. To be fair, it's just kill more, I suppose. But you always want to stop your opponent scoring. So if your opponent is relying on smaller units to do their scoring, get them below 10 as fast as possible and spread your shooting to then stop their scoring, and then you can start finishing them off. Which almost seems counterintuitive because you want to just finish a unit off. I suppose it depends what it is you're shooting and how much shooting you have. But like say the skeleton archers, you've got 8 of them in your units. It's 16 shots. that's probably enough to start chipping other small arms down. If people are relying on 10 or 10 man units to score, I think that's an error. But if I think 15 might be the size that a lot of people go for, because it gives you some like spare wounds. Get them down to below 10 as quick as possible. But I do think. Sorry.
Yeah, and Tomb Kings have probably got the easiest kind of ways to do this. Like, you've got terrors below, so you can just pop up and potentially take out a load of them that way. You've also got Scorpions popping up left, right, and Chelsea. Like, a Scorpion going into a 15-man unit of infantry is going to kill a few.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, 4 attacks and it's D3 stomps. You can't get challenged. It's going into them, and if you can get them into a flank or something, especially as well, like it's going to minimise the attacks back. They don't have huge combat res, so they're not going to pop your Scorpion. You say that, then you roll nothing but ones, and your Scorpion just gets murdered horribly. But in reality, they're like, with terrors below and ambush, they're 77 points. It's arguably the best 77 points in the game. Take away the balloons of Cathay. Like, they're still amazing, and Tomb Kings have got answers to kill things like that really well, especially with Mortar Cult and that extra play around. I think using Necro Serpents in your core is still an option, even when you're going sharply heavy, because they still do some decent damage, reasonable damage output. But at unit strength 3 each, if you even just got unit 2, like, that's 6 terror below tests, which has always been a hilarious answer to kill characters that aren't bunkered in units and are just near units. Think they're safe because they can't get shot, but terrors below doesn't conform to that targeting rule, so you can just snipe out characters that are near units but not in units, which is...
Oh, it's terrifying for dwarves as well. Utterly terrifying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I once brought up a Scorpion and a unit of 3 Necro Serpents in one turn from 2 different priests, and like dwarves are just dying everywhere on initiative tests. Not something you guys do historically well, admitted. I mean, I also don't pass initiative tests. I just don't have to take them very often.
yeah, that's the thing. Also, a good way to deal with vampire counts a little bit as well, which is quite nice.
Yeah, exactly that. Because like a lot of vamps hide their characters outside their units because they don't want them directly engaged. Like, if you can snipe out that general, like, it's game over. And that's always been the solution to vampires. If you can kill the general, it's a big if, admittedly, and a good vampire player is not going to randomly let you kill their general, but the opportunities emerge if you can jump on those opportunities and take out a general. Like, the game's effectively yours at that point.
Yeah. It's always, I mean, it's always been the way playing into vamps and Tomb Kings as well, right? But obviously, not so much, because obviously the Hierophant's not normally your general, right?
Yeah, I mean, and unless you're Royal Host, then he absolutely is also your general.
Yeah, but it's like, kill that model and you've probably won. I mean, if you can kill that model like turn 1, turn 2, job's an absolute good one. But yeah, I mean, it gets a little bit harder as the game goes on. Like, if you kill their general turn 5,
yeah, it's always a good thing to kill the opponent's general, obviously. But even as things crumble, if you say a Mortar Cult where you've probably still got quite a few wizards, less than you would have in edition 1, but I still think you're running quite a lot of wizards. You start resing stuff back anyway as well. So like, yeah, you'll if it's early in the game, you're probably losing because you've probably lost your best wizard. But it's recoverable. I think that's probably just a point for Warhammer in general. Like, so many people, if you do take a horrible loss early in the game, there's a horrible temptation, isn't it? But like, oh, that's it. The game's done. It is still always stuff to play for, and I think in 1.5 and match play, because of objectives, there's now even more to always play for. So like, never give up on a game in a competitive sense for me.
And the fact now that you get regens against the crumbles after your general's died, which for people playing into Tomb Kings is just thoroughly depressing.
If it's your Hierophant though, you don't, because you lose regen.
Oh, nice.
And if you kill a vampire, if you kill a general, the army loses the regen.
Do they?
Yeah.
Right, just ignore everything I just said there.
If you kill the Hierophant, the army loses all its regen, which is just sad. Like, sad Tomb King noises. Like, just sad skeletons.
Scad rattle.
Yeah. And that's it. No other armies rely on their general or the Hierophant, respectively, compared to Vampires and Tomb Kings. That is probably their biggest weakness if it can be exploited.
Yeah.
Like people with lots of cannons will just try to snipe your wizard like a lot of the time. Your Hierophant, and just hope that you don't roll that. You just pray that you don't roll the one for lookout. So it's fine. It's got lookout. So damn it. Just always be. I mean, that's the other thing for people getting into Tomb Kings, that just be incredibly cautious with where you put your characters, and that is a little issue. If you go and you Shapley heavy, you still need a block of stuff to hide your characters in. I rate the skirmishers for that though. You can take skirmishers in core, reasonable amount, get your character in there. You can effectively just hide behind you. Shapley's not doing much else, and just resurrect them. That's his job.
Yeah, and just don't roll ones.
Just don't roll ones.
Yeah. Right. While I have you, Scott, and we've obviously talked through your different tactics and stuff for what you were doing 1.5, can we have a little bit of speculation into what is coming for the new Arcane Journal?
Oh, I mean, for a start, are they not some of the nicest looking models that you've ever like?
Oh yeah, they look amazing.
They're just. I'm trying to look not on the opposite screen, but they are just lovely. They're so nice. And I think the other thing with an Arcane Journal, side of that, look lovely, you're not getting worse.
No.
Like, so if some of the rumours are true, and you're getting these, what were they referred? I've just closed that screen. It was no, I can't see it. Items that are the different incantations. There's room that there's other ways to new items, or whether they're going to be a spell or whether they're going to be an item. Like to do extra things. If there's a rumor that double shooting is true, like that could be the greatest thing ever.
Well, I mean, that'll be the answer to Cathay, I think.
That's the answer to Cathay.
10 man of Shabti, brap brap.
Yeah, just 10 man blocks of you Shabti shooting twice in a turn. Like that means you get 10 on it. Averages never pay off, do they? You always count things in averages, and it never ever works. But
it's not 40k here, Scott.
Exactly, yeah, you theoretically hit 10 times on average with a reroll. Oh, you're shooting twice, sorry. More if you've got reroll ones, but you effectively got 10 hits. You'll wound on 3, so you're probably wounding about 6 of them, 7 maybe.
I mean, I'd probably wound one.
Yeah. Oh, you're definitely only rolling wounding once. At that point, if you've wounded with 7, like they're at least on -1. They're possibly on -3. You might have had rust off. Like that is absolutely going to be an answer to Cathay if stuff like that is true. I just think if that sort of rumor is true, and they're going to be getting these like incantations that you almost burn a bit like power scrolls, but that do something different. That is going to be a really interesting change to how you want to build your army and play your army. I was trying to think about because it's not the same, but it could harken back a little bit how the spells worked in like 6th edition, where there weren't really spells, where they were just with you.
Went off.
They just went off. If it brings that kind of playstyle back, like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they're only going to be. Obviously, this is if they're real.
Yeah. I know if I'm thinking a double shot, it's not going to be there.
Yeah, probably not. Because there was some 4D Chan leaks the other day, and there was like loads about the Slayer cult being like Slayer pirates, and it was like there was a Kraken Slayer, and I was like, this is really cool.
Definitely
probably not true.
Yeah.
Not at all. This is too cool for Games Workshop to do it.
Like GW did to be fair, like lots of cool stuff with Old World. They're definitely not bringing a Slayer army of pirates, which would be phenomenal.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
They might as well. That could be the opportunity to bring out Vampire Coast, and we get pirate vampires, and I'm all in for pirate vampires.
Exactly, that could be the starter box for V2. Vampire Coast Slayer Pirates. Like that'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've kind of meandered away from Tomb Kings a little bit. I genuinely don't know outside of kind of like I don't even know if they're leaks. Just kind of like rumors going around. Like I genuinely have no idea outside of those what could be coming. Obviously,
No.
if maybe it's based around Cetra, so maybe them gonna make Cetra great again because nobody has ever used Cetra in the history of Old World. So maybe they could bring out some new rules for him, or there's going to be an army based around him. Like we just don't know. I think it'd be nice to see if they made Cetra playable. I think that'd be quite good.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, he's so. Sorry, dog just appeared. Slobbered on us, which is always a treat. Cetra is just such a core character, like to the history of the Old World. Relatively, the model's amazing. At least I think so. Like his lore's incredible. He's just rubbish. Like it's just rubbish. He's just not. He's not rubbish. He's just not playable because there's not a force that you could take him in that actually works. Like
yeah, and the fact he's about the same points as a dragon and just doesn't do dragony things.
Yeah, exactly that. And now he'll also get challenged out of some random unit champion. And then probably just give ground, crumble a little bit. He's just. It would be nice to see Cetra usable. I don't know if they're going to bring another. It wasn't on this the little leak. There wasn't anything that said there's another army of infamy particularly mentioned on the Tomb Kings. So will there be another army list, or will it just be expanded options on them? Like those characters look like they're on horses with Barden, arguably.
Yep.
And we've never had those before. I mean, the skeleton heavy horse, or the least heavy horse known to man, and also one of the oldest sculpts ever.
Yep.
So maybe we could get some nice new kind of cavalry, which might be quite nice. I'm not a huge cavalry player myself, other than the skirmish and archers, so that would be interesting.
Yeah, get some heavy cataphracts or something. Heard it here first. Plastic,
Yeah.
new plastic undead cataphracties coming in. I don't know. Like it'd be interesting. Like this is obviously the first of the campaign books rather than the proper arcane journals.
Yeah.
So maybe there is points changes for the Tomb Kings. We honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I would definitely like to see Cetra's rules adjusted and his points definitely adjusted as well. I think.
Yeah, and like these are exactly the best type of sort of format to do that in as well, isn't it? Like, all right. And they're shown by this last FAQ, they're not afraid to change points or amend rules. We've had that first full batch of Arcane Journals now, and like, so this is the sort of the moving the world on a little bit through the campaigns, which like is very exciting. Great opportunity to identify potential issues and fix them if they want to. And what's it called, Cetra's Revenge or something, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Cetra's Fury. Like he's probably furious because he's rubbish. Like so maybe the Fury fixes him and he gets remotely usable. I wouldn't be adverse if you could take him on foot. I mean that's never going to be an option. But if it were, like I could see him getting used, or even. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I just want them to bring back Arcan on his flying chariot.
I mean, that might be coming. We don't know.
I mean, I'd really love to have Nagash in some sort of playable manner, but that really is a pipe dream because he's very dead in the current era.
Yeah, very, very dead.
One of his many times of just being very, very dead. It's really nice to see stuff coming out though. Like I read that little blurb. I know the bigs from that preview wasn't very old worldy, which was a bit of a shame.
Yeah, well, it wasn't massive, right?
It was like 10 minutes, if that, wasn't it? But they didn't even go through some of the stuff that they then released onto the article.
Well, no, they didn't even mention Border Princes or the Slayer cult. They didn't mention that at all. Like I was posting up videos like, "Yeah, Slayer cult confirmed," and everyone's like, "What are you on about?" I was like,
they didn't even direct you to it either, did they? I just thought it was like relatively public because, like, there's lots to be hyped about from an old world. Like jazzy new things coming for Tomb Kings, which is we don't know what they are, but that's intriguing and something to look forward to because anything new is cool, in my opinion. Like something to look at. Slayer cult. Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. That is just cool. Like, short, angry people with beards and axes who don't wear armor. Like mad swines just running around having at people with like death blows.
Short little naked ginger chappy running at people with axes.
What more could you possibly want? What more could you possibly want? But hopefully, they get an army-wide ward save, for example. Because I think like the old I want to call it war paint, but it wasn't called war paint, was it? They used to have
no. It was the tattoos. So basically, the tattoos would ward. Well, the tattoos would ward against shooting because it was dishonorable to die from shooting before you actually got into combat. It'd be interesting to see if that comes back. I'd prefer a regen, I think, because you're yeah. Like a regen now would be great. You know what I mean? It's like regen. You death blow, regen, death blow again. It'd be great.
Oh, that's absolutely disgusting.
That's never going to happen. PW they like to take things away from my army. Unfortunately, like they'll give to you, Cathay, vampires, but they take from us, mate.
I can't help but think they must look at the vampires starting to segue off and think every other legacy faction is like bottom or lower tier, and like they couldn't get that balance right with vampires. They're just too fundamentally good an army.
Yeah.
And I can only assume that they look at sort of any event that allows legacy, which is all of them except GW, and just sigh when they see vampires doing really well. It's alright, they'll release Cathay, so put an end to that vampire dominance.
Exactly. Right, on that note, we shall end the video there. Thank you all for watching. Thank you very much for coming on, Scott. It's been an absolute
thanks for having us. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. It's been absolutely great talking about Tomb Kings. Thank you very much to all the channel members as well. Couldn't be doing this without you. And to the channel sponsor, UK Resin Print. So if anybody wants to go check out some 3D sculpts that you can get sent straight to your door, head down to the description down below and the link down there. And that's also got a 15% discount code, which is Dowie After Dark. Right, thank you very much, Scott. I will see you all later. Rack and Stone!